The chapter immediately begins with the domain clash breaking entirely, which means that Yuta was able to not necessarily survive the 3 minutes and clash with Sukuna evenly for that time, but basically what happened is the purple completely shattered the domain. Yuta wasn't able to keep the purple up. He wasn't able to keep the domain up while purple went off. The good news is that it was enough to at least actually break Sukuna's hold over his domain as well, which basically means everything got set back to neutral. So that was kind of the downfall of Yuta's messy cursed energy, everything like that. We've heard about it for multiple chapters. We all kind of assumed it was going to happen. I mean, we did hear about it twice. Gege brought it up with Gojo flashbacks, where Yuta needs to work on his cursed energy. Yuta needs to work on his cursed energy. And Yuta even admits that he has a struggle on grasping the limitless curse technique, even after switch training with Gojo and then being inside of his body and going through his memories one by one. But yeah, it's unfortunate that Yuta didn't have enough of a grasp on purple to actually do any real damage, it seems. It was only enough to just completely destroy the barriers between the two domains. Now, it looks like it's going to be a 3v1. As the domain breaks and Sukuna sits on the other side, Yuji, Todo, and Gojo slash Yuta break through the smoke and are all charging at Sukuna at once, which, to be fair, it's a fire moment. It's an absolutely fire moment. And Todo, thankfully Todo has Boogie Woogie. Todo goes, Yuta, use as many purples as you can off rip. Just start ripping them out like a fucking machine gun and attack Sukuna as much as you can, and we will just Boogie Woogie and get out of the area as much as possible. Which I think is a very valiant effort. It shows how far Todo has come. Todo has gotten the biggest... Who would have thought that Todo would get one of the biggest glow-ups of this entire arc, and bro hasn't shown up for 100 fucking chapters. Insane. But saddest part is after this, Yuta fumbles immediately. Yuta fired on all cylinders, fucking cracks down, cripples his fucking legs, snaps his ankle, twists his shit, and fucking falls right on his face on the floor, which is just embarrassing. Just pick yourself up. Damn it. Yuta, you're in Gojo's body, man. You're looking Gojo look bad. Is Yuta coming back into the fight at all? I think that's a very important discussion to have here. So, I see a lot of different options. Because the thing is we know Yuta only has 5 minutes with Kinjaku's technique. We don't know what happens at the end of that 5 minutes. I know there's so many different theories all going around right now. You know, is Yuta just going to hold on to the body after the 5 minutes and he's just stuck in Gojo's body forever? Is Gojo actually going to come back? Is Gojo going to be a member, is just going to take over Yuta's consciousness and get his body back in that moment? You know, is he just cooked in general after the 5 minutes? The brain is gonna, you know, be in a dead body. The curse technique is gonna end and he's cooked. There's so many different ways that this could actually go, right? However, we know how fast these motherfuckers be fighting for. We know how fast an anime, I should say we know how slow an animanga minute is. We've all seen Dragon Ball. We've all seen all of the memes. We've all seen characters have inner monologues that last 25 minutes in a fight that's supposed to be 30 seconds long. This is nothing new to the anime-manga community whatsoever. Is it possible? Because the main reason that Yuta fumbles or Yuta falls, I should say Yuta took a tumble, actually, is the correct terminology that I should use here. The main reason why Yuta took a tumble here is because he didn't account for multiple different scenarios. And those scenarios are as follows. After using domain expansion, Yuta just assumed that, hey, the curse technique that's going to be on cooldown is, you know, red, blue, limitless. I'll be able to still move and fight, all that stuff. Yuta was dead wrong. Using domain expansion, Kenjaku's curse technique went on cooldown, which means Yuta cannot control Gojo's dead body. Yuta is literally just a brain inside of an empty husk right now. No cursed energy is flowing. The body, it cannot move whatsoever. The most Yuta is able to do right now is maintain his barrier, which is what's letting all of the shards from the broken barriers continue to like float around for Yuji and Todo to swap with. Literally all Yuta is able to do right now, specifically because he did not account for Yuta, for Kenjaku's curse technique just not working. It's possible that the technique could end cooldown before the 5 minutes is up, is what I'm saying. Depending on what happens with this Jacob's Ladder. If this Jacob's Ladder is endgame, then everything that I'm saying doesn't matter, because we don't need to get Sukuna on another caught off guard crazy attack, right? We've already caught him with the caught off guard crazy attack. We don't need to add more into it. If Jacob's Ladder is enough to separate Sukuna in that moment, I mean, the man is already coughing up fingers as it is, then we should be good. But the reason why I asked that question and I asked that poll question is specifically because if Yuta can end the cooldown before the 5 minutes is up, it's possible he can get Sukuna on purple still, after having all of that time to still go through Gojo and Kenjaku's memories, and then learn how to better use purple in the 11th.5 hour. Right when Sukuna survives the Jacob's Ladder, in comes new Yuta Gojo with the perfected purple. Bing! You know what I mean? As far as it goes, it is interesting that this basically confirms that Kenjaku was a lot more tactical than we even ever thought possible. The fact that Kenjaku was able to use a domain expansion against Yuki and Shoso and maintain grasp on Geto's body, while Yuta could not do that, is telling of how much characters understand their curse techniques and are able to implement things to make their curse techniques better that you just can't steal and immediately take into your account. One thing that I do think is interesting is that, long story short, this is all just Sukuna glaze. It's all just secret Sukuna glaze. And let me explain why it's all just secret Sukuna glaze. This is now the second instance where Yuta has not been able to just outright copy a curse technique and use it to its fullest ability without even having any background knowledge on it, right? Now, you could argue that Sukuna had a little bit more background knowledge on the curse technique after watching Yuji, you know, fight alongside of Megumi. But it does say a lot about Sukuna, who was able to take over Megumi's body, steal the 10 Shadows technique, and then use the 10 Shadows technique way better than Megumi ever did. Fucking absolute mad lad Sukuna. That shows how much higher thinking and higher plane his sorcery is compared to the modern age. 10 Shadows is also a lot easier to use. I mean, I guess that's true. But the thing is Sukuna was using it in a lot more interesting ways than Megumi was. The fact that he was keeping his Shikigami partially summoned to make sure they couldn't get destroyed. The fact that he was merging and changing around the Shikigami, like he created Agito. You know, there was so many different things that Sukuna was doing with the 10 Shadows that I thought was very interesting. Sukuna was using things like piercing blood with Max Elephant's water spouts, literally using abilities of the 10 Shadows Shikigami without needing to fully summon the 10 Shadows Shikigami, which even Gojo was like, whoa, I didn't even know Megumi was able to do that. Like I think that is insane, that we have now 2 examples of Yuta not being able to turn other people's curse techniques into his own and grasp them on the fly, whereas again Sukuna was able to do shit like this in no time, and in fact improve upon and even add properties to the curse technique that were never thought possible. As everybody continues to fight Yuji and Todo, even though Yuta can't fight, honestly, I have to give it to Yuta and Todo. I'm sorry, Yuta and Todo. I have to give it to Yuji and Todo. Yuta doesn't get any props for this. Someone call a life alert immediately. They need to press the life alert button on fucking Yuta. He's down for the fucking count. So the kind of resolve that Yuji and Todo have is insane. Like, for one, I've got to give it to Yuji. Yuji fighting alongside his sensei's dead body just being used by Yuta, and Yuji not even flinching about it, not even thinking about it, and just continuing to fight Sukuna has got to be one of the top 10 fucking things in the world. I don't care what anyone says. Everyone's like, oh, we're missing important character development. We're missing important character interactions, and no one's upset that Gojo died, and no one even cares that Yuta's using Gojo's body. Ah! These motherfuckers are fucking war veterans at this point, bro. The level of steel reserve these guys have, like, I don't care what anyone says. One of the coolest fucking things in the world to me was Higuruma tossing the Executioner's sword to Yuji, and Yuji having the PTSD of Nanami dying in front of him, and instead of breaking down, Yuji, if anything, just gets even more fucking confident, grabs the fucking Executioner's blade, and goes for that fucking kill shot. Like, even though that did not work, I love that. That's such top tier character development from Yuji, the person who, at the start of the series, fighting that finger bearer special grade, crying his eyes out and wishing he could go back to being a regular kid, and then just stealing enough reserve at the end to fucking have Sukuna come out, to fighting Shoso, having that same reaction, and then being like, no, I've got it, don't worry, this is my role. Then having that confidence broken down by Mahito entirely, building himself back up with the Mahito fight. Well, after, he also massacred thousands of people in Shibuya, so that also broke him down even more. Mahito happened, that destroyed him even more. He develops this cog mentality. And now, after everything, even after his sensei died, even after things are this tough and things are getting that bad, Yuji can look death in the face and not even flinch at this point. And the fact that in that panel, he says the words that Nanami says to him way back when, and that Gojo said to him all the way back in chapter 2. You know what I mean? Having your friends die and being able to even recognize their corpse is a good day. A good day. Yuji is a Jujutsu fucking sorcerer. At the end of this, Yuji has fully emboldened those themes. He's fully become everything that he's needed to be to actually defeat Sukuna and become the cog in the system that he needs. He's more than just a cog. He's the one that moves that system. He's the one that fucking builds it. God fucking damn it. I love going back to the Jujutsu Kaisen data book now and having so much context on the way that Gege writes things and the way that Gege does things. Like, knowing that Gege Akutami, instead of making multiple training arcs for Jujutsu Kaisen, Gege Akutami instead said, fuck it. I'm going to have Yuji continue to lose more and more and more until when he finally gets that win, he fucking deserves it. And you can call whatever kind of writing that Gege does lame. You always see the people on Twitter reading the leaks that say Gege's writing's downhill. He doesn't know what to do with his characters. He has no idea what he's doing, and every week he's kind of just freeballing it. Gege knows what he's doing to the point that that whole suffering cycle, suffering creates character. You have so many people being like, suffering isn't real character development. So you can't make real character development out of suffering. Look no further than Yuji Itadori for this, because this man has grown so much since chapter 1 and has done sure, quote unquote, some training arcs here and there, but literally Yuji's character has been suffering builds character. And you can joke on that all you want, but the fact of the matter is Yuji is not the same person he is from chapter 1 that he is in chapter 263. This is not the same Yuji I was watching scared to kill transfigured humans against Mahito. This is not the same Yuji I was watching literally break down bawling and say that he couldn't live anymore and he needed to die now in front of Todo after Nobara and Nanami died. This is a Yuji Itadori who has fully embraced this life that he's in. He understands his role, and his role was to do this all the way back to when he's talking to Yaga and he goes, you know what? If I didn't become a Jujutsu sorcerer, if I didn't fight Sukuna, I know that one day I'd be reading manga and I'd hear that people died because of a curse, and I don't want that. And even though he stumbled and he's tripped and he might not have the same exact idea of what that sentence means today, he embodies those words more now than he ever did. And I fucking love Yuji Itadori. Yuji Itadori is one of the greatest fucking characters of all fucking time. I fucking love Yuji. Sukuna hits a black flash on Todo, which my whole thing for this is I crack up because my mind constantly always goes to the people that were like, Gege could have just not done this. And this is one of the biggest things for me of Gege could have just not done this. Like, why did Sukuna have to hit a black flash here? Like, I feel like Sukuna could have just as easily knocked Todo's ass away with a punch and we would have accepted everything. It would have been fine. Like, even Sukuna does this with Yuji later where he smacks Yuji into the wall. Why did you have to give Sukuna a black flash here, Gege? Why did he need this? You could have just not drawn the black sparks here and your point still would have gotten across completely. Yuji being able to use Dismantle, still one of the coolest things to me. I love Yuji using Dismantle. But the fact that he's just absolutely obliterating Sukuna while he's doing it makes me so proud of him. Yuji being like, I'll do it as many times as it takes. Wake the fuck up, Megami. And that Sukuna is literally taking so much damage. He's like, all right, I gotta stop getting hit by this because this brat's fucking my day up. The fact that Yuji's literally using Dismantle just like Cleave, which I think is very interesting. He's literally just like selectively snipping at the barriers of Sukuna and Megami's soul to cause as much damage to that fucking hold on Megami's body as possible. To the point that Sukuna is literally coughing up fingers. His hold on Megami's body is getting broken that much that Sukuna's literally coughing up fingers. I think it's very telling, and it shows that the soul punches are drastically affecting Sukuna. Drastically affecting him. To the point where he literally, this is the closest we've seen Sukuna to losing hold over Megami so far. The closest we've seen. Yuji is enough of a threat to Sukuna that Sukuna goes, okay, well shit, I've got to dodge all of their attacks because Yuji is literally the only person that can actually damage me. Which is one crazy that he still refuses to acknowledge Yuji at this point. The fact that Yuji's literally the only person left that can actually do damage to Sukuna. But it again, there's more Yuji glaze. But I think this is something that's interesting, that kind of goes into what we were talking about. Kind of goes into a little bit with what we're talking about. Let me get on my soapbox for just a second. Just a second. So, Yuji and Sukuna have been fighting each other neck and neck for a decent amount of time. And once Sukuna goes, all right, this nonsense has to end. I've got to stop getting hit by Yuji. I need to do something about this. My man immediately just starts fucking outspeeding Yuji instantly and then just starts hitting him with attacks. Which proves to me that, again, Sukuna is one of the fastest people in the entire series. And that when Sukuna puts his back into it, he pretty much is faster than everyone in this location. He's faster than Maki. He's definitely faster than Yuji. Sukuna is probably the fastest character in the entire series. I would have to say so. It's just Sukuna, for some reason, isn't always locked in, if you want to say that. He did this to Maki too, where he's fighting neck and neck with Maki, and then he's like, all right, you know what? Let me lock in real quick. And then he's fucking perception blitzing her. Fucking pulling an Okiura and slamming her face through the wall. So it's just like Sukuna is just one of those people, he's just like, all right, let me fucking pounce real quick. The final portion of this chapter gives us potentially one of the last cliffhangers of the Shinjuku Showdown. Now, I know so many people are going to doubt that. So many people are going to be like, absolutely not. There's no way this is the last attack. We've still got 10 more chapters of Sukuna swinging with people. But you know what? I truly and wholeheartedly believe this might be it. I truly and wholeheartedly believe this might be the last plan we have. What the hell else can we possibly do? You know? There's a lot of different ways that Gege could take this specifically. But I've said it in the last couple of chapters. And I agree somewhat. 50-50, right? The cliffhangers, while always leaving us questioning and asking what the hell is going to happen next, the cliffhangers don't mean much when we've seen Sukuna survive so many different attacks. And it's like, we get to a cliffhanger and it's like, oh no, we got this final attack against Sukuna. And it didn't work. Like, if the chapter ended with the attack not working, I think the chapters would feel a lot more satisfying, rather than each chapter feeling like a cliffhanger that ends up amounting to nothing at the very fresh start of the next chapter. I think the Higuruma death penalty sword is the worst offense of that, when it's like Yuji's making that one final backstab and then Sukuna just gets out of the way and dodges. And it's like, wow, that really amounted to nothing. You know what I mean? Gege has been doing the cliffhanger a bit for a long time, so I just feel like the cliffhangers just feel a little tired and old. But I'm hoping, if this really is the last attack, guys, I'm hoping this matters. I'm hoping this makes a big difference. We know Jacob's Ladder was able to do a lot. Sukuna is, once again, at the weakest he's ever been. He can't use a curse technique. He can't use reverse curse technique. He can't use world bisecting dismantle. He literally is a hand-to-hand merchant right now with only 2 left arms. You know, Jacob's Ladder might actually be able to work, and it hits him. We know Jacob's Ladder can do damage. Now, Yuta's Jacob's Ladder may not have been able to stun lock Sukuna enough for him to do anything, but hey, things could change. All I'm saying is, we've used the terminology at the 11th hour twice now, so we better really be coming up on the end. We really better be coming up on the end.